A horse saved an injured Apache woman. What was born later changed two destinies. The sun rose slowly over the wide plains of the American Southwest, casting long shadows over the tall grasses that swayed gently in the morning wind. The air was still and quiet, filled only with the distant calls of birds and the soft rustling of leaves. Nayeli, a young Apache woman with dark hair tied loosely at her back, moved carefully through the grasses. Her eyes scanned the horizon, not just for beauty, but for the herbs and roots she knew could help heal the sick and wounded in her village. She had grown up learning from her mother and grandmother, understanding the land, the plants, and the animals. Every step she took was careful, respectful of the earth beneath her feet. That morning, Nayeli had ventured farther than usual, drawn by the stories of an elder about a patch of herbs that grew near a hidden creek. The journey was not easy. The terrain was rocky, uneven, and scattered with thorny bushes. She held a small basket in one hand and a walking stick in the other, moving slowly but steadily. Her mind was calm, focused on the task, unaware of the danger that was slowly approaching. As she bent down to inspect a cluster of blue-green leaves, she heard a low growl behind her. Her head snapped up and her heart skipped a beat. From the shadow of a large rock, a cougar emerged, its golden eyes locked on her. Nayeli froze, remembering the warnings from her elders. The mountain cats were fast and fierce. She knew running could provoke it, but standing still also felt terrifying. Her hands trembled and the basket slipped slightly from her grasp. The cougar took a step closer, muscles rippling under its tawny coat. Nayeli's mind raced. She thought of the herbs, the village, her family, and the life she had yet to live. She tried to make herself appear calm, speaking softly in the Apache tongue, hoping her words would not scare the animal but would keep her safe. The cougar paused, sniffing the air, considering her. Then, with a sudden leap, it lunged. Nayeli stumbled backward, her leg catching on a jagged rock. She fell hard, pain shooting through her body, and her leg twisted awkwardly beneath her. A sharp cry escaped her lips as she tried to move but realized she couldn't. The pain was intense and the world around her seemed to blur. She tried to push herself up, her hands scraping against the stones. Tears of pain and fear filled her eyes. She whispered to herself, urging courage, urging strength. She looked at the cougar, now circling cautiously, and understood that it was assessing her as much as she was assessing it. She thought of the village, of her family, and of the life she still had to live. Then, just when despair threatened to overwhelm her, she heard a sound, a soft, rhythmic thudding. From a distance, a shadow moved across the plains. Nayeli's heart lifted slightly. The figure came closer, revealing itself as a horse, wild and powerful, its coat a deep chestnut that shone in the morning sun. Its eyes were dark, intelligent, and curious. The horse stopped a few feet away, its ears twitching, sensing her fear and pain. Nayeli, exhausted and weak, whispered to it, "Please help me." She didn't know if it could understand, but something in the horse's calm presence brought her a glimmer of hope. The horse inched closer, lowering its head as if to study her more closely. Nayeli extended a trembling hand, and to her relief, it did not shy away. The cougar, startled by the sudden arrival, hesitated and then retreated silently into the rocks, leaving Nayeli alone with the horse. She let out a sigh of relief, her chest heaving. She leaned back slightly, resting against the horse's strong side. Its warmth and strength steadied her, and for the first time since the attack, she felt a sense of safety. Over the next few hours, Nayeli and the horse remained together. She could not stand on her injured leg, but she could crawl, and the horse stayed close, sometimes nudging her gently with its nose, guiding her toward the creek she had been seeking. When she reached the water, she dipped her hand in, letting the cool liquid soothe her burns and scratches. The horse drank carefully beside her, its presence constant and protective. Nayeli whispered thanks to it, feeling a strange but comforting bond forming between them. The sun climbed higher, making the heat almost unbearable. Naomi knew she could not stay in the open plains for long. She had to find her way back to the village before nightfall. But her leg throbbed, and every movement brought new pain. The horse seemed to understand. It moved slightly ahead and looked back at her, as if inviting her to trust it. Gathering all her strength, she leaned on its side, gripping its mane, and took her first shaky steps forward. The horse adjusted its position, moving slowly and carefully so she would not fall. Step by step, they moved together across the rocky ground, forming a rhythm of trust and cooperation. By midday, the creek was behind them and the hills stretched out before them. Naomi's muscles ached, and she feared she would collapse, but the horse remained patient, steady, and watchful. Every now and then, she whispered words of gratitude and encouragement, and it seemed to respond with soft whinnies and gentle nudges. By late afternoon, they reached a small grove of trees that provided shade. Naomi rested there, leaning against the horse, feeling the gentle rise and fall of its breath. She marveled at how such a wild creature, untamed and free, could become her protector, her companion, and her guide. As the sun dipped lower toward the horizon, casting a golden glow across the plains, Naomi reflected on what had happened. She realized that this encounter was no accident. The horse had appeared at the exact moment she needed help the most. Its presence had given her strength, courage, and hope when she felt utterly alone. She touched its neck softly, feeling the warmth and power beneath her fingers, and promised to care for it, just as it had cared for her. Night came, and with it, a chill that crept across the plains. Naomi and the horse found shelter under a rocky overhang. She tended to her leg as best as she could, cleaning minor cuts and wrapping them with cloth from her bag. The horse stood close, as if understanding her every need, offering warmth and protection. For the first time in many days, Naomi slept peacefully, feeling safe for the first time since the cougar attack. In the following days, Naomi and the horse, whom she began to call Tayanita, formed a routine. She learned to trust the horse completely, and it seemed to trust her in return. Together, they navigated the plains, finding food, water, and shelter. Naomi began to see Tayanita not just as an animal, but as a companion, a friend, and a guide. Their connection grew stronger with each passing day, bound by mutual respect, understanding, and gratitude. By the end of the first week, Naomi's leg was healing slowly, but her experience had changed her. She no longer saw herself as a helpless victim of circumstance. Instead, she felt a deep sense of connection to the land, to the animals, and to the strength within herself. The horse had not only saved her life, but had awakened a courage and resilience she had never known existed. The plains seemed different now, alive in ways Naomi had never fully appreciated. Every rustle of grass, every call of a bird, every distant shadow reminded her of the bond she shared with Tayanita. She knew that this encounter was the beginning of something extraordinary, a journey that would change her life forever. And in her heart, she felt a quiet certainty that this wild horse, with its untamed spirit and gentle strength, was destined to play a role far beyond what either of them could imagine. The days passed slowly across the vast plains, but for Naomi, each day felt filled with quiet wonder. Her leg was healing, though it remained tender, and every step she took was a careful reminder of the strength she needed to survive. Tayanita, the wild stallion who had saved her life, stayed close at every turn, as if she knew that Naomi's safety depended not just on her own courage, but also on the horse's presence. Their bond was growing with each passing day, a silent understanding forming between them that required no words. In the mornings, Naomi would rise with the sun, her body still stiff from the previous day's travel, and greet Tayanita with a soft touch and a gentle word. She brought water from the nearby creek, and the horse drank eagerly, shaking its mane in the morning breeze. Naomi often smiled at Tayanita's gestures, realizing how much comfort she felt from having a companion who was steady, loyal, and watchful. The plains no longer seemed lonely. Instead, they seemed alive with opportunity, adventure, and discovery. Nayeli began exploring areas she had never visited before. With Tayanita by her side, she could climb rocky hills and cross narrow valleys, places that had once seemed impossible with her injured leg. Tayanita moved carefully whenever Nayeli leaned against him, instinctively adjusting his pace to match her strength. She often whispered her gratitude, running her fingers over his soft, warm coat. "You are more than a horse," she said one evening, watching the sun set behind the mountains. "You are my friend, my guide, my protector." The horse nickered softly, as if acknowledging her words, and Nayeli felt a surge of happiness. During one morning walk along the edge of the forest, Nayeli spotted a herd of deer grazing quietly. Tayanita froze at her side, alert and tense, his ears twitching. Nayeli held her breath, motionless, as the deer looked up and then moved gracefully away into the trees. She marveled at the horse's attentiveness, its ability to sense danger even when she did not. She realized that Tayanita's instincts, combined with her own knowledge of the land, made them an extraordinary team. She felt pride mixed with humility, understanding that survival was often a partnership between humans and the animals around them. In the evenings, Nayeli would build small fires near the creek, cooking simple meals and resting her leg. Tayanita remained nearby, often lying down on the soft grass, watching her every movement. Sometimes she would place her hand on his side, feeling the steady beat of his heart, and imagine a future in which they would always be together. Her thoughts often wandered to her family and her village, wondering how they would react if they saw her riding alongside a wild horse, healed and unafraid. The thought brought a smile to her face, and she whispered stories to Tayanita about her childhood, the elders, and the lessons they had taught her. The horse seemed to listen patiently, its dark eyes calm and understanding. One afternoon, Nayeli noticed that Tayanita had stopped eating the grasses he usually enjoyed. He paced slowly, ears flicking toward the distant hills. She followed his gaze and saw smoke rising in the distance. Her heart quickened. Smoke often meant fire or trouble in the plains, and she knew that danger could come quickly and without warning. She touched Tayanita gently, calming him as he stamped his hooves. "We will be careful," she whispered. "I will not let anything harm us." With his guidance, she moved cautiously toward a safer path, learning to trust not only the horse's instincts but also her own growing confidence. Days turned into weeks, and Nayeli's leg continued to improve. She began to test herself more, walking longer distances and even climbing small cliffs with Tayanita's help. The bond between them deepened, built on trust, patience, and shared experience. Nayeli discovered that she was stronger than she had ever realized, and Tayanita revealed a gentleness that belied his wild appearance. Together, they moved across the plains with a rhythm that felt almost magical, as if they had been meant to find each other all along. The villagers, when Nayeli finally returned, were astonished. They had feared for her life, assuming that the plains were too dangerous for anyone to survive alone, especially after an attack by a cougar. Nayeli told them of the horse that had saved her, and the elders listened with quiet amazement. Some whispered that Tayanita was a spirit animal, sent by the land to protect her. Nayeli smiled at the thought but knew in her heart that the horse was real, and that their connection had been forged through courage, trust, and kindness. Over the next few months, Nayeli trained Tayanita, teaching him to follow her guidance while still respecting his wild spirit. She found that patience was key. Rushing or forcing him only led to resistance. Instead, she used gentle words, soft touches, and quiet encouragement. Slowly, he learned to respond to her commands, to walk calmly beside her, and even to carry her when the terrain became difficult. Nayeli was amazed at the progress, realizing that the horse's intelligence and willingness to cooperate were extraordinary. She often whispered stories of her childhood and dreams to him, and though he could not speak, she felt that he understood every word. Tayanita's presence changed Nayeli in ways she had never expected. She felt braver, stronger, and more connected to the land around her. She explored areas she had never dared to enter, climbed higher hills, and crossed rivers that had once seemed impossible. Her confidence grew, and with it, her appreciation for the quiet, patient wisdom of the horse. Nayeli realized that survival was not only about physical strength, but also about trust, patience, and the willingness to accept help when it was offered. One day, while walking along a narrow canyon, Nayeli heard the faint cries of a baby bird trapped in the rocks. Without thinking, she moved to help, carefully lifting the small creature into her hands. Tayanita watched quietly, standing close, as if ready to protect her from any threat. She released the bird near a safe nest, smiling as it chirped happily and reunited with its mother. Moments like this, she thought, were what made life meaningful. The connection between herself, the horse, and the world around her was deeper than she had ever imagined. As the seasons changed, Nayeli and Tayanita became inseparable. The plains no longer felt empty or dangerous. They were filled with life, adventure, and possibility. Nayeli's respect for Tayanita grew every day. She realized that he had not only saved her life, but had also taught her lessons of patience, trust, and courage. The horse had shown her that even in the wildest, loneliest moments, connection and loyalty could create hope and strength. In quiet moments at night, Nayeli would sit beside Tayanita, feeling the soft rise and fall of his breath, and whisper her dreams. She imagined traveling the plains together, discovering hidden valleys and sharing moments of peace and beauty. She thought about the future, wondering what other adventures awaited them and what role this extraordinary horse would play in her life. She knew that their journey together had only just begun, and that the bond they shared was something rare and sacred. By the time winter approached, Nayeli was fully healed. Her leg no longer hurt, and she walked with confidence and grace. But her connection with Tayanita had deepened beyond mere dependence. It had become a partnership of equals, a friendship built on respect, understanding, and shared experiences. The horse had saved her life once, and now, through their bond, he was teaching her how to live fully, courageously, and with a heart open to wonder. The village soon began to notice the changes in Nayeli. She moved with a quiet strength, her eyes shining with confidence and peace. People spoke of her courage and the horse that had become her companion. Some children would follow her at a distance, curious to see Tayanita and the way Nayeli moved with him across the plains. The elders nodded in approval, recognizing the rare connection between human and animal, a relationship that was both spiritual and practical, grounded in mutual trust and respect. Nayeli often thought back to the day she had been attacked, the fear, the pain, and the uncertainty. She realized that day had been the beginning of something extraordinary. Without Tayanita, she might not have survived. Without that bond, she might never have discovered the courage and resilience that now defined her. She knew that their lives were intertwined, and that the lessons she had learned from this wild horse would stay with her forever. As the first snowflakes began to fall, covering the plains in a soft, quiet blanket, Nayeli and Tayanita stood together at the edge of the forest. She reached out and touched his mane, feeling the warmth and strength beneath her fingers. "We have come so far," she whispered, "and yet I feel our journey is only beginning." The horse nickered softly, as if agreeing, and together they looked out over the plains, ready for whatever adventures awaited them next. Spring arrived across the plains, bringing new life and color after the cold, quiet months of winter. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, fresh grass, and the faint tang of rain on the earth. Nayeli walked slowly through the tall grasses with Tayanita by her side. She could feel the excitement in the horse's movements. The stallion had grown strong and confident through the winter, and there was a quiet energy about him, a restlessness that suggested something new was about to happen. Naomi's heart beat faster with anticipation. She had noticed subtle changes in Tayanita over the past weeks, soft whinnies, shifting weight, and gentle nudges that hinted at the arrival of a foal. One early morning, as the sun painted the horizon in shades of pink and gold, Naomi woke to the sounds of Tayanita pacing softly. She sensed that the moment had come. She approached the stallion with a mixture of awe and tenderness. "It is time, isn't it?" she whispered, her voice barely audible, afraid of startling him. Tayanita nuzzled her gently, his warm breath brushing her cheek. Naomi understood. This was the miracle she had been waiting for. She had cared for this horse as more than just a companion. She had grown to love him, and now the plains would bring them a new life, a life that would change everything. Naomi guided Tayanita to a sheltered grove she had discovered months earlier, surrounded by tall trees and soft grass. She helped him settle comfortably, clearing the ground to make it safe for the birth. Hours passed slowly, filled with quiet tension and anticipation. Naomi stayed near, speaking softly to Tayanita, stroking his mane, offering comfort as the horse's movements grew more restless. She could feel the power of life building within him, the rhythm of nature unfolding in its own time. Finally, as the sun reached its highest point in the sky, a small, trembling foal emerged into the world. Naomi gasped, overwhelmed by the beauty and fragility of the newborn. Its coat was a soft chestnut, lighter than Tayanita's, with a small white star on its forehead. The foal took its first unsteady steps, wobbling on long, delicate legs. Naomi held her breath as it struggled to find balance, feeling a wave of joy and relief wash over her. Tayanita nuzzled the foal gently, his eyes soft with pride and tenderness. Naomi smiled through tears, realizing that this moment was not just a miracle of nature, but a gift that would transform their lives forever. She named the foal Sihu, which meant life-bringer in her language. The name felt perfect, for he symbolized hope, courage, and the continuation of a bond that had already saved her life. Naomi watched as Tayanita taught Sihu the first lessons of survival, how to stand, how to move carefully, and how to respond to danger. The foal's legs were wobbly at first, but he quickly grew stronger under the guidance of his father. Naomi marveled at the intelligence and courage she saw in Sihu's eyes, realizing that he was no ordinary foal. From the moment he opened his eyes, he seemed to understand the world around him, full of curiosity and spirit. Over the next weeks, Naomi dedicated herself to caring for both Tayanita and Sihu. She brought water from the creek and fresh grass, often sitting quietly with them as the wind rustled through the trees. Sihu followed Tayanita closely, mimicking his every move, learning how to navigate the plains. Naomi taught the foal with patience and gentleness, encouraging him to explore, to trust, and to grow. She spoke softly to him every day, telling stories of her life, of her tribe, and of the lessons she had learned in the wild. The foal seemed to respond, his ears twitching at her voice, his movements guided by the trust that had already formed between them. The villagers, when they heard of Sihu's birth, came to see the foal and the horses. They were amazed by the beauty and spirit of the young horse, noting how intelligent and lively he appeared. Children ran to touch him, though Naomi gently reminded them to be careful, explaining that Sihu was still learning about the world. The elders nodded with approval, recognizing the rare and special bond between Naomi and the horses. Some whispered that Sihu was a sign, a symbol of hope and courage for the tribe. Naomi listened quietly, smiling to herself, feeling the truth of their words. Sihu was indeed extraordinary, and she knew that his life would touch not only her own, but also the lives of others in ways she could not yet imagine. As Sihu grew stronger, Naomi began teaching him basic skills. She guided him to walk beside her without fear, to respond to gentle commands, and to understand the rhythms of the plains. Tayanita remained patient and watchful, allowing his son to learn through observation and practice. Naeli found herself amazed by the foal's bravery. He would venture into new areas, curious about streams, rocks, and trees, yet always return to the safety of her presence. Watching him, Naeli realized that life was not just about survival, it was about growth, trust, and courage. Sihu embodied all of these qualities, and she felt privileged to be part of his journey. One afternoon, while exploring a rocky canyon, Sihu stumbled on uneven ground and fell. Naeli rushed to his side, fear gripping her heart, but the foal quickly regained his footing, shaking his small legs and looking up at her with bright eyes. Naeli laughed with relief, stroking his mane. "You are stronger than I imagined," she said, "and braver too." Sihu responded with a playful nuzzle, and Naeli felt a joy she had never known before. In that moment, she understood the depth of the connection between humans and animals, and how it could transform lives, offering hope, courage, and companionship even in the wildest, most uncertain moments. Over time, Naeli noticed something remarkable. Sihu seemed to sense when people or animals were in need. One day, she heard the faint cries of a rabbit trapped in a thicket. Sihu nudged her, urging her to follow. Together, they freed the rabbit, and Naeli realized that the foal possessed not just intelligence but a compassionate heart. She marveled at this, understanding that Sihu's spirit was rare and extraordinary. His presence brought life and hope to the plains, reminding her that even the smallest creatures could change the course of events with courage and care. As the months passed, Naeli, Tayanita, and Sihu moved through the plains with growing confidence and grace. Sihu learned quickly, mimicking Tayanita's movements and absorbing Naeli's lessons. The bond between the three of them was unbreakable, built on trust, patience, and shared experience. Naeli often reflected on how much her life had changed since the day she had been saved. She had gone from fear and uncertainty to strength, confidence, and a deep appreciation for the world around her. The birth of Sihu had added a new dimension to her life, filling it with joy, responsibility, and wonder. Naeli began to imagine the future. She saw herself riding across the plains with Tayanita and Sihu, teaching the young foal more skills, exploring hidden valleys, and discovering new lands. She thought about her tribe, about the ways in which these horses could help them survive and thrive. She understood that Sihu was not just a gift for her. He was a gift for the entire community, a symbol of hope, courage, and the extraordinary connection between humans and animals. Evenings were filled with quiet reflection. Naeli would sit by the fire, brushing Sihu's soft coat and speaking to him gently, telling him stories of courage, kindness, and wisdom. Tayanita would rest nearby, keeping watch, his dark eyes calm and protective. The bond between them was almost sacred, a living testament to the power of trust, patience, and love. Naeli felt a sense of peace she had never known before, understanding that this family of horses and humans had been brought together for a reason, a purpose that went beyond survival. One day, Naeli decided to take Sihu to the village to introduce him to her people. She rode Tayanita with Sihu following closely, his small legs moving quickly but carefully. When they arrived, the villagers were amazed. Children ran to see the foal, elders whispered with admiration, and everyone marveled at the intelligence, courage, and beauty of the young horse. Naeli smiled, proud and humble, realizing that the birth of Sihu had not only changed her life, but had also begun to transform the lives of those around her. As the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Naeli stood with Tayanita and Sihu, feeling the wind on her face and the warmth of the horses beside her. She knew that their journey was just beginning, that the plains held countless adventures, lessons, and discoveries. But she also understood that the bond they shared, the bond of trust, courage, and love, would carry them through whatever challenges lay ahead. Sihu had been born into a world of danger, beauty, and possibility, and with Nayeli and Tayanita by his side, he would grow to become a horse of extraordinary spirit, changing not only their lives but the lives of others in ways they could not yet imagine. Time passed quickly across the wide plains, and Nayeli, Tayanita, and Sihu grew stronger with every day. The bond between them was unbreakable, formed not only through shared experiences but also through trust, patience, and deep understanding. Nayeli had become more confident and fearless. She could ride Tayanita across the steep hills, guide Sihu safely through rocky paths, and navigate the forests and rivers with calm determination. The young foal had grown into a spirited young horse, quick, intelligent, and curious, yet loyal to Nayeli and Tayanita. Together, they were a family, moving with harmony across the plains, learning from each other and discovering the world. One morning, as the sun rose with a golden glow, Nayeli noticed smoke rising in the distance. Her heart tightened, sensing danger for her tribe. In the past, smoke had always been a warning sign, sometimes of fire, sometimes of strangers approaching, and sometimes of threats to the village's safety. She quickly mounted Tayanita, with Sihu following closely, his young legs steady and determined. As they approached the source of the smoke, Nayeli saw a group of outsiders near the village boundary, cutting trees and causing small fires. They had come without warning, and their presence threatened the safety and livelihood of her people. Nayeli's heart raced, but she did not panic. She remembered the lessons she had learned while surviving in the wild, and she trusted Tayanita and Sihu completely. Together, they moved silently, navigating the terrain with skill. Nayeli whispered directions to the horses, and they responded immediately, moving as one. She reached a vantage point on a hill and observed the outsiders, noting their numbers and movements. She realized that if she acted carefully, she could warn her village and lead them to safety without confrontation. Nayeli turned Tayanita and Sihu, guiding them back to the village. The horses' speed and intelligence allowed them to cover the distance quickly, and Nayeli's heart filled with hope. She knew the villagers would need her help, but she also knew they had never seen the young foal move with such purpose and courage. Sihu, sensing the urgency, moved alongside Tayanita without hesitation, his small but strong legs carrying him across uneven ground. Nayeli could see the determination in his eyes, the same determination that had first captured her heart when he was born. Upon reaching the village, Nayeli warned the elders and the people of the approaching danger. Her words were calm, precise, and confident, inspired by the trust she had learned to place in herself and the horses. The villagers listened carefully, and under Nayeli's guidance, they prepared for possible threats. Children were brought to safe areas, the elders organized resources, and hunters and warriors took positions to protect their homes. All the while, Tayanita and Sihu remained close, ready to act if needed. As the outsiders approached, Nayeli noticed that Sihu began to respond instinctively to their movements. He guided her to safer vantage points, helping her observe without being seen. Nayeli marveled at the young horse's intelligence and bravery. Though he was still young, Sihu had inherited his father's strength and spirit, and he had learned from Nayeli's guidance to act with care, courage, and thoughtfulness. The foal was no longer just a symbol of hope. He had become an active participant in protecting the tribe. The outsiders moved closer, unaware that the villagers were prepared. Nayeli, with Tayanita and Sihu by her side, led a series of careful maneuvers that allowed the villagers to remain safe. She guided them to hidden paths and natural barriers that protected them from danger. Sihu, quick and alert, delivered messages across the village, moving with a speed and intelligence that astonished everyone. Nayeli realized that the young horse's presence had changed everything. Without him, their efforts would have been slower and less organized. With him, they had an advantage they could not have imagined. By the end of the day, the outsiders had left, confused and frustrated by the tribe's careful strategy and unexpected preparedness. The villagers celebrated their safety, praising Naeli, Tayanita, and Sihu for their courage, intelligence, and guidance. Elders spoke of the horses as spirit protectors, noting that the bond between human and animal had saved lives and prevented disaster. Naeli felt a quiet pride, understanding that the foal, born only months ago, had already begun to fulfill a destiny larger than she had imagined. In the following weeks, the village began to see more clearly how Sihu and Tayanita could shape their lives. Naeli trained Sihu further, teaching him to carry small messages, to respond to quiet commands, and to move quickly across dangerous terrain. Tayanita remained patient, teaching his son by example and guiding Naeli in her efforts. The horses became symbols of hope and strength, embodying the courage, intelligence, and trust that the tribe needed to thrive in an unpredictable world. Naeli's role in the village changed as well. She had grown into a leader, respected for her bravery, wisdom, and deep understanding of both people and animals. She guided the villagers not only in survival, but also in ways to live harmoniously with the land and its creatures. The birth of Sihu had not only brought joy to her life, but it also created an opportunity for the tribe to grow stronger, more united, and more confident in their ability to face challenges. One day, while exploring the plains, Naeli noticed a young man observing them from a distance. He was a traveler, unfamiliar with the land, and he appeared curious but cautious. Naeli watched silently, allowing him to approach slowly. She realized that Sihu and Tayanita, with their intelligence and calm confidence, could also guide outsiders who came with good intentions. The young man introduced himself as Elijah, a rider from a distant settlement, searching for a horse of exceptional spirit. Naeli observed him closely, understanding that the young man had potential, but also needed guidance to connect with such extraordinary creatures. Over the next few days, Elijah returned, observing the horses and learning from Naeli's careful guidance. He watched Sihu's intelligence, Tayanita's patience, and Naeli's courage. He noticed how the three moved together, understanding each other without words, and he realized that a bond with such horses required respect, trust, and kindness. Naeli taught him how to approach the animals, how to speak softly, and how to honor their spirit. Elijah listened carefully, humbled by the experience and inspired by the lessons he was learning. Sihu, in particular, seemed to recognize Elijah's sincerity. The young horse approached him cautiously, sniffing and observing, testing his patience and kindness. Elijah remained calm, offering soft words and gentle gestures, and slowly a connection began to form. Naeli watched with quiet satisfaction, understanding that Sihu had the ability to sense character, to respond to courage, and to choose allies carefully. She realized that this young man, guided by the horses and her instruction, could become a part of their story, and perhaps change his own destiny in the process. Meanwhile, the village continued to thrive under Naeli's leadership and the guidance of the horses. Tayanita and Sihu were no longer just companions. They were protectors, teachers, and symbols of hope. Their presence allowed the villagers to move with greater confidence across the plains, to explore new areas, and to live more boldly. Children learned to respect animals and nature, inspired by the example of Naeli and the horses. Elders spoke of courage and patience, emphasizing the importance of trust, cooperation, and understanding. Naeli often reflected on how much her life had changed since the day she was injured. She had gone from fear and uncertainty to strength, leadership, and wisdom. The bond she had formed with Tayanita had saved her life, and the birth of Sihu had created a new path, not only for her but for her tribe, and for those who would come into their lives. She realized that sometimes the smallest events, an act of trust, a moment of courage, the birth of a foal, could have consequences far beyond what anyone could imagine. As the sun set one evening, painting the sky in deep shades of orange and purple, Naeli stood atop a hill with Tayanita and Sihu at her side. She looked across the plains, seeing the village safe and thriving, the forests and rivers alive with movement and life. She felt a quiet pride and a deep sense of connection to everything around her, the land, the people, and the horses who had become her family. Sihu nuzzled her hand gently, and Tayanita shifted his weight beside her, both horses offering comfort, strength, and companionship. Naeli whispered softly to them, "We have faced danger, we have learned, and we have grown. And yet I feel our journey is only beginning." The horses responded with soft whinnies, their eyes reflecting the bond they shared, a bond that would guide them through challenges, adventures, and discoveries yet to come. Naeli knew that the future held uncertainty, but she also knew that with Tayanita and Sihu by her side, she and her village could face anything. The lives of humans and horses were intertwined, and together they had the power to shape destinies, protect one another, and leave a legacy of courage, trust, and hope that would endure for generations. The plains stretched endlessly beneath the bright morning sun, golden and alive with the songs of birds and the soft rustling of grasses in the wind. Naeli stood at the edge of the village, Tayanita at her side, and Sihu a few steps ahead, his small but powerful body gleaming in the light. The past years had changed all of them. Naeli had grown strong, wise, and confident. Tayanita had become not only her protector but also a steadfast partner, calm and reliable. Sihu, once a fragile foal, had matured into a spirited young horse, quick, intelligent, and brave. Together, they formed a bond that seemed unbreakable, a bond that had shaped their lives in ways no one could have imagined. Word had spread far beyond the village about the extraordinary horses and the courage of the young woman who had tamed them. Travelers and riders from distant settlements began to visit, hoping to catch a glimpse of the legendary horses. Among them was Elijah, the young man Naeli had first met months earlier. He had returned with admiration and humility, hoping to learn from Naeli and to form a bond with Sihu. Naeli welcomed him, recognizing the sincerity in his eyes and the respect he held for her and the horses. She understood that his presence was no coincidence. Perhaps, she thought, the destinies of humans and horses were intertwined in ways that the world could not always explain. Elijah approached Sihu cautiously, kneeling to let the young horse see that he meant no harm. Sihu, curious and intelligent, watched him closely, testing his patience and sincerity. Elijah spoke softly, extending a hand, and Sihu nuzzled it gently, sensing the kindness and courage in the young man's heart. Naeli smiled quietly, proud of the trust Sihu had shown. She realized that this moment was more than a meeting between a man and a horse. It was the continuation of a journey that had begun long before, the moment when courage, trust, and compassion intersected to shape destinies. Over the following weeks, Elijah spent time learning from Naeli. She taught him how to communicate with the horses, how to approach them with respect, and how to ride with care and understanding. Tayanita, with his calm and wise demeanor, observed silently, allowing Elijah to gain confidence. Sihu, playful and intelligent, tested the young man gently, ensuring he could handle the responsibilities of forming a true bond. Elijah responded with patience, kindness, and determination, and slowly the connection grew stronger. The 3 horses and the 2 humans moved together across the plains, forming a partnership that felt natural, powerful, and inspiring. Meanwhile, life in the village continued to flourish. Naeli's leadership had strengthened the community. Under her guidance, the villagers had learned to move safely through the plains, navigate dangers, and live in harmony with the land and animals around them. Children watched in awe as Tayanita and Sihu demonstrated their intelligence, speed, and courage. The horses became teachers, symbols of bravery and examples of the bond that could exist between humans and animals. Elders spoke of the courage of Naeli and the wisdom of the horses, emphasizing the importance of patience, trust, and cooperation. One day, a challenge arose that would test the bond between humans and horses more than ever. A wild herd of mustangs had entered the plains near the village, and their presence threatened the safety of crops and homes. The villagers were anxious, unsure of how to guide the wild horses safely without confrontation. Naeli, Tayanita, Sihu, and Elijah knew they had to act quickly. Together, they devised a plan to lead the wild herd away from the village, using skill, intelligence, and courage. Naeli rode Tayanita at the front, guiding the group with calm authority. Sihu moved beside her, attentive and quick, signaling with gentle nudges and soft whinnies. Elijah rode slightly behind, learning and adapting to the horse's movements, responding with respect and care. Together, the four moved as one, their rhythm almost magical. They guided the wild herd along a safe path, away from danger, using the terrain and careful maneuvers to lead them toward open plains where they could roam freely. The villagers watched in awe, realizing that the courage and intelligence of the horses, combined with Naeli's leadership, had prevented disaster without harm to any creature. The event solidified the bond between humans and horses in the village. Naeli knew that her life, Tayanita's life, and Sihu's life had intertwined with destiny in ways far beyond her imagination. The young man, Elijah, had proven himself trustworthy and brave, earning the respect of both Naeli and the horses. Sihu, once a tiny foal struggling to find his footing, had grown into a horse of exceptional courage, intelligence, and spirit. Tayanita had guided him, protected him, and taught him the lessons of patience, strength, and loyalty. Naeli reflected on how much had changed since the day she was injured and saved by Tayanita. The plains, once lonely and dangerous, were now alive with friendship, trust, and purpose. One quiet evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and crimson, Naeli, Elijah, Tayanita, and Sihu stood atop a hill overlooking the village. The wind brushed through their hair and manes, carrying the scent of grasses and flowers, and a sense of peace settled over them. Naeli spoke softly. "We have faced danger, learned courage, and grown stronger, and yet I feel that our journey is only beginning." Elijah nodded, understanding the depth of her words. He had come seeking a horse of exceptional spirit, and he had found not only Sihu but also a teacher, a guide, and a friend. Together they had learned that true strength came not just from physical power, but from patience, trust, and respect for life. Tayanita nuzzled Naeli gently, and Sihu nudged Elijah, acknowledging their shared bond. In that moment, Naeli realized that life was a journey of connection, between humans and animals, between friends, and between past, present, and future. In the months that followed, Elijah became part of their lives, traveling with Naeli, Tayanita, and Sihu across the plains. He learned to ride with care, communicate with the horses, and respect the rhythms of the land. Together, they explored hidden valleys, crossed rivers, and navigated forests, facing challenges with courage and wisdom. The bond between humans and horses became a story of inspiration for nearby villages, spreading the message of trust, patience, and the extraordinary power of connection. Sihu, in particular, grew into a horse known for his intelligence, bravery, and loyalty. His actions had saved the village more than once, and his spirit inspired both young and old. Children watched him with admiration, learning to respect animals and nature, while adults marveled at his courage and insight. Tayanita remained the wise protector, guiding Sihu and teaching lessons in patience, strength, and balance. Naeli, once a young woman struggling to survive after injury, had become a leader, mentor, and source of hope for her community. As the years passed, the story of Naeli, Tayanita, and Sihu became legend. Travelers from far away sought them out, hoping to witness the courage and spirit of these extraordinary horses and the young woman who had formed a bond with them. Elijah continued his journey alongside them, forever changed by the lessons he had learned and the trust he had earned. The plains, once a place of fear and uncertainty, had become a land of adventure, courage, and endless possibility. Naomi often reflected on the journey that had begun with a single act of trust. She remembered the day she was injured, the fear, the pain, and the uncertainty. She thought of Tayanita, the wild horse who had saved her life, and Sihu, the foal born to carry forward the courage and spirit of his father. She understood that even the smallest moments, a nudge, a whinny, a gesture of trust, could change the course of lives, shaping destinies in ways that could never have been imagined. One evening, Naomi stood at the edge of the plains, watching the sun dip behind the mountains. Tayanita and Sihu grazed quietly nearby, and Elijah rode slowly beside them, a sense of peace settling over the group. Naomi smiled, feeling the weight of the past years and the hope of the future. She knew that their journey was far from over, but she also knew that the bond they shared, the bond of courage, trust, and love, would guide them through any challenge. In that quiet moment, Naomi realized that life was a gift, not just for herself, but for everyone who had been touched by Tayanita and Sihu. Their courage, intelligence, and loyalty had not only saved lives, but had also inspired hope, strengthened bonds, and transformed destinies. Naomi understood that sometimes the smallest gestures, the gentle nudge of a horse, the soft encouragement of a friend, could ripple outward, creating a legacy that would endure for generations. The plains stretched endlessly before them, golden in the fading light. Naomi felt the wind on her face, the warmth of Tayanita's body, and the playful energy of Sihu beside her. She whispered softly, "Thank you for everything." Tayanita nuzzled her gently, Sihu whinnied softly, and Elijah smiled, understanding the depth of the connection that had changed all their lives. Together, they faced the future with courage, hope, and an unbreakable bond. A bond that had begun with survival, grown through trust, and blossomed into a story that would live forever in the hearts of all who heard it. The journey of Naomi, Tayanita, and Sihu was complete in one sense, but in another, it was only beginning. Their lives had intertwined, shaping each other in ways no one could have predicted. Sihu had grown into a horse of remarkable spirit, inspiring courage and hope wherever he went. Tayanita remained the wise protector, steady and calm, and Naomi had become a symbol of strength, compassion, and leadership. Together they had changed destinies, not just their own, but the lives of everyone who had witnessed their courage, patience, and trust. And so, the plains remained alive with their story, a tale of survival, love, courage, and the extraordinary bond between humans and animals. Naomi, Tayanita, and Sihu moved forward into the unknown, ready for whatever adventures awaited them, forever connected, forever inspiring, and forever changing destinies.